Dr. Matt and Dr. Monica here, and I am super excited for today's video and this jam sesh that we're having today with my wonderful wife. And we do these videos to share information, conversations that we have at REV on a pretty regular basis. And today we're going to be talking about something that we think is pretty important for not only all the clients that come in through REV, but really anyone in the world, because it will apply to you. And it's about reframing the word symptoms. And it is something that obviously as healthcare providers and workers of being chiropractors, that we work with people that have a lot of symptoms that will typically come in. But a lot of people have a different mindset than maybe me and Monica and the REV team have about it. So today, we just want to share a different way and a different perspective on how to look at it. And I think that Monica and I both, but Monica specifically, has a really amazing story that's led her to this new understanding of what symptoms actually are. So I'd love to kick it off with you, Monica, and share kind of your story, how you got to this place, and how to reframe the thinking about and viewing what symptoms truly are.
So understanding symptoms is foundational to wellness, in my opinion, from everything that I've been through to everything I know now and how we support people in the office. So I'm going to present two different paradigms of wellness, essentially. So I grew up completely conventional. You guys have probably heard my story before. And when I finally understood what symptoms actually meant, I was mind blown, and it changed everything for me. So I grew up when I had a symptom in my body. Let's say I had a headache, or I just didn't feel well. I took something to cover up the symptom, and that was just normal to me. I didn't know anything else. I feel like a lot of people don't know anything else, and I didn't understand that when I did that, it actually caused side effects and made the symptom actually louder in the end. So when I finally understood that, the age-old example I'll give you guys that just like made everything clear to me was that if you're driving your car and your check engine light goes on in your car, so you're driving around, it comes up, okay, it comes up. So some people will just put a piece of tape over the check engine light and they're like, all right, good to go, it's gone, I can keep going. When in actuality, that's like completely ridiculous. And this example is ridiculous, but it paints a picture exactly of how we can address symptoms in a different way. So when I understood that you can't just put a piece of tape over it and keep going, that you actually have to get the engine checked and actually soup up the car in that way, so that way you can keep going and longer, it changed everything for me. So I had no idea that our body is our greatest teacher, and that our body is always speaking to us, and it speaks to us through things like symptoms. So symptoms can be headaches, anxiety, it can be poor sleep, it can just be not feeling like myself. It's just a signal from the body that it's talking to us saying, hey, we need to pay attention, we need to go inward with it.
Mm-hmm. One thing that I have definitely gotten from you is the phrase that you just said, is that our body is our greatest teacher. And I don't even remember where you got that from, but I remember you sharing it with me like 10, 11 years ago maybe. And at first I didn't quite understand it because for me too, having the back pain that I had for years and my anxiety, I didn't think of symptoms as necessarily a good thing. But now we fast forward over a decade later in our own healing journey, we kind of see symptoms as a completely different thing than we used to, because the symptoms are just there to give you that tap on the shoulder, right? We talk about, you have this spectrum of health. You're made up of hundreds of trillions of cells. Our body is always trying to maintain this balance and homeostasis. But when we have stress, when we have challenges, when we have curveballs, when we don't eat well, when we have too much trauma in our life, whether it's micro traumas that build up or something big, eventually that diminishes the connectivity within our brain and body, and then the cells start to not activate the way they're supposed to. They start degenerating, and when they do it long enough, it starts to bring up some of those aches and those pains and those low energies. And we always joke around with people, like in the beginning, if there's a little bit of stress, it's that little tap on the shoulder, right? It's a little bit of tension, it's a little bit of fatigue. But if we continue to not listen to the signals of the body, that's when the full-on stuff comes on. And instead of being tapped on the shoulder, you kind of get hit over the head. And I got hit over the head many times over the years, and I'm sure you guys have as well. So it's just an amazing way to just look at things in a different way. Instead of just saying, hey, I have pain, let me go take a medication or a drug, because yes, that is going to help and support in the short period to mask it, but it's not getting to the root of it.
Right. And then again, it becomes louder. To me, it's like, let's heal, let's be the most efficient for our life, and that is healing the problem when it arises so that it doesn't get louder, because like our health is our number one value, and when we are well and we're healthy, that's when we can actually live. So that's why like I said, health is our number one value, so that way we can actually like be present in the moment. Like we can be our best self as a mom, as a dad, as a business owner, as a person enjoying the life that they have here. So the other paradigm I wanted to present. So the first paradigm is that a symptom arises, oh, my back hurts, or I'm just having this depression or anxiety, and I'm gonna take a medication to cover it up and continue on, right? The other paradigm, which is what we really stand for at REV and how we live our lives now, because I know the other paradigm isn't sustainable through my own journey, is that a symptom arises and I pay attention to the symptom and I listen to my body, and in doing so, I'm trusting that the symptom is there for a reason, and I'm gonna listen to it and then therefore move forward. So we have some things that in those moments of when a symptom does come up that you guys can do in the moment, and just tools to have the rest of your life.
And just for everyone that's watching this video, whether you know Monica and I or the REV family, like, we try to live a very healthy lifestyle, and I think it'd be important for us to answer and you to answer. You've been on a healing journey for about 15 years, right? Do you have all the answers, and do you ever not have aches, pains, symptoms, headaches?
I'm so glad you said that. Yeah, a lot of people would see us, okay, they've been on a healing journey like 15 years, they have no symptoms. And expecting that eventually you don't have any symptoms. And that is not necessarily how the body works and how healing and integration happens, because we're always unwinding, we're always healing, and we're always adapting to what's coming in our life. So it's going to look different. So yes, I still have symptoms, and it's something we talk about as even practitioners working with ourselves, is like, when Matt's adjusting me or Erica's adjusting me, it's like, hey, I'm moving through this thing right now. Maybe I have a headache, or maybe I have some low back pain, just to share that I may be having too much on my plate right now, and my body's going to express that to me to tell me that I need to slow down, or I need some time to process and to heal. That's really what I'm using it as this point. It's teaching me.
And the symptoms are, I think it's fair to say, as you grow, as you heal, as you evolve, they are different than they were 10 years ago. They were different than they were 6 months ago. And that's really, for us, the most important thing is like, are you having the same exact thing happen every single week after every single, physical, interaction or mental emotional experience that causes the stress, anxiety, or is it actually different? And if it's different, that's actually a great thing, because you're no longer running the same pattern. And, there's something that we talk about with bandwidth and capacity. As we heal, as we integrate, as we grow, your bandwidth to be able to handle more things is going to grow and increase. But if you never get challenged, if you never have a stress that comes up, you're never going to be able to grow. So what will happen is life, I believe, will tend to throw us those things just outside of our capacity. And if you had or have a tendency of back pain, of headaches, of anxiety, of overwhelm, there might be a good chance that that old pattern that's been there for so long is still lying just a little bit dormant, and it's resurfacing its way through to be able to process and integrate at an even deeper level. So that's one thing, a misnomer of people thinking that, hey, I used to have it and then it went away and now it's back. Well, it's not necessarily back the same way. Are you adapting different? Does it feel different? Does it look different? And if the answer is yes, that means you're evolving. So it's really giving yourself those wins along the way. So I love this conversation. I think a lot of people will get so much out of this. And let's talk about okay.
Well, hold on. Before we get there, I also want to say, I think a lot of times when someone has a symptom, they're like, okay, this is maybe something I have to manage the rest of my life, or something that is going to exist within my life forever. And that's what I felt when I started with headaches, which led to migraines, and I would have them on a weekly basis. This was in my teens, a weekly basis, because I didn't understand what symptoms were. I didn't understand my body was trying to talk to me. I did the only thing I knew to do, and I took Excedrin migraine, many of them a day, and then they got worse, and then they got worse, and then they got worse to the fact that I had 2 prescription medications for them, and I had shots when I was in college to numb the pain. So it just got worse and worse and worse. I'm 36 now, so that was almost 20 years ago that when they started, headaches to me are completely different. They rarely ever happen. And when they do happen, I listen to them and I know why they're happening. So it's just something to understand that our body can heal and symptoms have meaning. And if we pay attention to them, they won't last. That's why they're there. They're trying to get us to they're alerting us essentially. So I just want to say that we can move through those symptoms too. That's possible. Our body is designed to heal. This is how we were born.
And I think it's really, I just calling out the elephant in the room for some people. If some people have had, and this was me several years ago, have had years of symptoms, years of pain, years of anxiety, it's really hard to believe, one, that that's actually a good thing, right? Because it hurts, it's painful, right? But the other piece is they might not necessarily have the belief that healing is possible for them. And I get that because we've worked with literally thousands of people that have gone through this process, and a good percentage of them, it's like we say, hey, this is going to happen. You're going to start integrating and processing. You're going to start increasing your bandwidth. And because of that, your symptoms and pain will tend to go away. And they just don't have this belief that that's even possible for them. So number one, we got to believe, and through this understanding, education of how this mind-body works, I believe has empowered us, and hopefully these videos are empowering you as well. But what would you say to someone to start shifting that mindset, shifting that understanding of, hey, symptoms, whether I've had them for years or they're just coming up, how to start approaching them in a different way to be more empowering, to start making those shifts and changes?
I think just listening to these concepts is going to further that process. I feel like a lot of times we're raised not hearing this at all, so that when we do hear it, it's like, oh, no way, you know what I mean? That's not real. So when you hear someone else say it, it actually opens up our mind to a different paradigm, and that's really, I think, the first step is from there, wouldn't you say?
100%. I mean, that's the first step for everything is awareness, right? If we don't have awareness on something, we can't bring conscious attention and effort to it, then it's not going to shift and change, which then kind of leads me into, two parts, I think. And we haven't really planned what we're going to say in this moment. It's just things that we typically share with people that have supported us.
The Jam Sesh.
But I think even a couple of days ago, we were talking about someone going through symptoms, and there's a saying that we've adopted: whatever you focus on expands, whatever you focus on, you see, feel, and experience more of. So, if you're always talking about, I have back pain, I have anxiety, I have depression, you are proclaiming that for yourself. And guess what? We typically tend to see more back pain, more neck pain, more headaches, more anxiety, because we keep focusing on that. I'm not saying to not address those things, but something that we've utilized is, hey, I have pain. It's acknowledging it, but focusing on, I am healing, I am integrating, I am processing. I know you're really big on words and being impeccable with your words. So I feel like changing your shift and focus on how you look at it and how you speak about it is a very powerful tool as well.
And within that, it's like, okay, I love what you're saying, Matt, but how do I heal? What does that even look like? And that's why we work with the nervous system, because the nervous system is the most efficient way towards healing, because the nervous system controls every single part of the body. So when you begin to regulate the nervous system, whether it's through our process here at REV, or you begin breathing, or you're mindfully moving, or nourishing your body, resting when you need to rest, all of these little things are going to be allowing you to just regulate your nervous system so you can be in a place of balance. And that is really the game changer as far as beginning to heal. So number one, it's becoming aware of oh, I can actually heal. Oh, this is actually what symptoms mean in my body. That kind of makes sense. From there, it's trusting that the symptoms have meaning. From there, it's really tapping into the potential that's lying within our nervous system so that our body can heal. We can pay attention to those symptoms and basically work with them, I would say.
Absolutely. And the last thing that I'll share in this video is maybe an advanced tool that it took us years to kind of move into. And it's definitely out there. It's definitely unique and definitely different, where you don't normally hear it from your typical people that talk about pain and how to move through it. I'm not going to give you an exercise and something specific action to do, but whether you have headaches, whether you have back pain, whether you have whatever symptom it may be, there's an expression happening in the body. And I just said, hey, don't focus on it, because whatever you focus on, you're going to keep getting more of that thing, and that's a general rule. But then there is a advanced tool of focusing on it with a lack of desire for it to do or shift or change or be anything. It's more of just a curious awareness and an open attention to it, because we want to bring attention to these little taps on the shoulder from the body. Long story short, Monica and I, probably 7-8 years ago, before we had kids, 8 years ago, we went on a 10-day silent meditation retreat. At that time, I was still experiencing a decent amount of back pain on a regular basis. I was going through this process and I was getting a lot of healing through it, but there was still a little bit lingering there. Monica used to deal with debilitating migraines as well, and she had an experience similar to this, but I went through a process. It was day 7 of zero talking, zero stimulation, just meditating for like
10
hours a day.
10
You
hours
really,
a day.
10 hours a day. You
Yes.
really get to know yourself during that time. But I remember on day like 5 or 6, I was sitting and it was in that awkward position where my back pain started coming up, and normally what do? You just move out of it. You shift away from it. You don't want to like necessarily cause more pain, so you're trying to like stretch. And I just instantly knew, I'm like, I just need to stick this out and feel into this. And the person that was guiding the meditations, they talked about just leaning into and just observing, having zero judgment about a sensation that comes up. And in my mind, I had just been through chiropractic school. I knew, I'm like, okay, if I have pain there, it really just is in my mind. It's an electrical signal coming to my brain saying, hey, move, because it's uncomfortable. So I'm like, it's just an electrical signal. I'm not going to die if I just stay right here. That's what I said in my head. And the pain, I kept focusing on it and feeling into it, but just observing it. Pain's intensified, and eventually it started getting really hot. And eventually it started to feel like there was a lightning bolt on my back. And then eventually it felt like someone poured kerosene on my back, lit me on fire, and it went down my entire left leg. And I remember feeling into it, I'm like, oh my God, this is the most extreme pain in my entire life, but I just kept observing. And I cannot explain this to you guys, and this is a miracle, I will say. In an instant, that extreme heat went to an extreme cool and an opening. And I just felt so open, so free. I cannot explain to you biologically what exactly happened in that moment, but from that moment 8 years ago, I have never experienced that debilitating pain that I used to have on a regular basis. And so I learned a lot through that experience of that sometimes those pains, those aches, we tend to want to push away completely, or we'll talk about it, but we just don't really want to deal with it. And that's a tendency in life. And I've shared this approach with a lot of people that have gone through REV, and whether it's headaches or heart palpitations or something like that. And I just say, what would happen if you just tuned in and just felt into it? And let's see what happens. And from there, we've had a lot of people have actually dramatic shifts and changes in that. So that's a powerful tool for me. And I know, Monica, you've had experience with headaches doing that as well.
And then I would say that is very advanced.
I
love that he shared that, because that is such an amazing tool, and that's what I use when I have any pain, physical pain in particular in my body. But even before that, another tool you guys can use before advanced.
Sorry, I just went
I love
straight
that.
for the advanced stuff.
Before that, I think when a symptom arises, for you guys to take inventory of your life and see what's going on. What is that dynamic in your partnership at home? What is the dynamic at work? What is going on when you're with your children, if you have children? Or things from your past. Are you thinking about things from your past all the time? Take inventories. This is why awareness, I feel like, is our greatest superpower. I always say that, because when you become aware of why a pattern is happening, it begins to rise the pattern so it can be basically shifted and changed. So take inventory of what's going on, because a lot of times there's something that needs to be shifted, because what is the saying?
All life issues.
An energy issue. So if there's energy issue in your life, as far as the dynamic in the marriage, unfulfilled in your career, if there's an energy issue, becomes a tissue issue in the body, which becomes a life issue, which is why people eventually find us at REV, because there's a life issue that they want to resolve so they can actually fully experience their life, like we talked about earlier.
Yeah, most people aren't coming in here because their life is awesome and
Some
dandy.
people come
Some
and they
people,
just want their
1%.
life to be even better.
Oh, absolutely.
I love
And we've
that
gotten
too.
more and more of those over
Yeah.
the years, but most of the time it's those little taps on the shoulder and getting hit over the head. And I love that analogy because it is like when something happens, you can immediately, when we become more aware, which I know a lot of people that are going to watch this video that have been going through this process, you're starting to realize that you're being more aware of the things around you and what's happening inside of you quicker and quicker and quicker. And so when we have something that comes up, we've trained ourselves to be like, okay, what have I been doing? What have I been eating? Who have I been hanging around? Why am I acting this way? And then through that awareness, you can start making those shifts even faster.
So to sum up this jam sesh on symptoms, it's to understand that symptoms have meaning and they're essentially signals from the body, allowing us to pay attention, to connect inward, and from there we can decide what we want to do with it. Take inventory of your life, what's been going on. Nervous system healing is, to me, the utmost, most efficient way to move through any symptom that's happening, but ultimately trusting in your body and knowing that your body is designed to heal and that this symptom is happening for a reason, to invite you inward.
Yes.
That's what I would say.
I think it's okay to search for answers because to make a shift and change because we want to feel better, right? You're having this expression because something's off balance. So it's okay to look at it and try to make a change. But eventually the ultimate thing that we try to share with people is that if you are integrating, if you're working on yourself, if you're eating good, if you're doing all the things that you know you need to, eventually you will process it, and that nothing in life is permanent. It's if we don't put intention, action, and change in our life, then we'll keep repeating those same cycles. So it's really just trusting that this is a season of my life and I will move through this because I know I'm doing the right things for it.
Yep.
Awesome. All right, guys, I think we're done. So if you enjoyed this video and you got some value out of it, please share it with a friend or a family member. Like this video, subscribe to the YouTube channel so that way you can be updated on all the videos that we're going to be posting. And we hope this was of value to you.